the way her children talked to her was the same way that she talked to her husband. She used to talk to her husband in a very rude way, ordering him and bossing him around, telling him do this, telling him and speaking to him in the most rude way. So if this is the example that she gave, what did she think her children were going to do? They're looking at her and say, this is the way to behave. This is the way you treat those people who are supposed to be in authority over you. So what she gave out, she got back. So if your manners are good, and your example is good, and your way is good, then this is the most excellent way to teach your children the good manners. So you need to teach them the good manners, and also, of course, you need to teach them Islam. To teach them Islam, to teach them what is halal, what is haram, to teach them the various dua that they make when they get up, when they go to the toilet, when they eat, so on and so forth. To teach them the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and very important, to teach the children from an early age to be workers for Islam. To put this in their minds, to get them used to this concept that they must be amongst those people who are striving and struggling and sacrificing to make the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the highest. And we remember reading about one of the companions of the Prophet. I think it was Abdullah ibn Zubair, I can't remember, with the children of one of the companions. I can't remember which one it was. But the first word he learned was safe. The first word he learned was safe. Because this is how his parents were bringing him up. From day one, this child was being brought up to lay down his life, to sacrifice himself for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So similarly, we need to teach our children to put it in their mind to be callers to Islam, to be people who invite to La ilaha illallah, to people who are ready to sacrifice their time and their money for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a very important part that our sisters have. And this is why you can see how that saying is not a saying of the Prophet, it's just a saying. That if you educate a woman, you educate a nation. If the woman in Islam has this right mentality, has this right concept, if she is bringing up her children, then automatically we will have a generation of children who are prepared to carry the torch, to carry the banner of Al-Islam. The next piece of advice we would like to give our noble Muslim sisters is to persist in the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first matter here is, first of all, in worship. We know that our Muslim sisters are very often extremely engaged in looking after the children, cooking, cleaning, doing the household tasks, and sometimes even they are occupying themselves with things, or they are forced to do things that perhaps they shouldn't even be doing, that their husbands should be doing. Like, for example, shopping and so on and so forth. We still find it strange that Muslim women unnecessarily go to the shops and are forced to do the shopping, whereas really we find that it would be better from the manners for the men to go and do the shopping and relieve the women from such a difficult and strenuous burden. Also, it would prevent the women from having to go to the marketplaces and mix with the kuffar and stuff like that, carrying heavy bags and so on and so forth. So many times we find that our sisters are burdened with all of these things, and it becomes very easy for them to neglect their prayers, not Insha'Allah, we hope to miss the time of the prayer altogether, but very often leaving the prayer out of its early time, delaying the prayer until a very late stage of the day, or so on and so forth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has indeed warned us to guard strictly our habit of prayer, especially the middle prayer. So the prayer in reality is the backbone of Islam. It is that which distinguishes between Iman and Kufr, between belief and disbelief, is the prayer. So we advise our Muslim sisters to take care of the prayer, not only in its times, but also not to pray it hastily in a manner in which you do not have the khushu', the reverential awe before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you are praying so fast that you do not have the correct humility, and in fact you will totally miss the benefit of the prayer. Rather to take care of this prayer, to somehow, and we have no doubt it is difficult, to somehow, if you could get the children in some way to be quiet or to sing, so you will have that moment at least to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be attentive in that, then this is something we advise our Muslim sisters to do their best to strive and struggle for that. Also, to try and fast, and again we know this is something that is difficult for our Muslim sisters, with all the tasks that they have in the household. Of course, you are not permitted to do a voluntary fast without the permission of your husband. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ has taught us. Also, of course, to give in charity, and this is a very important thing for our sisters to try and give in charity. Second aspect in the persistence in obedience to Allah, to persist and maintain the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a very important issue, and that is the seeking of knowledge. That is the seeking of knowledge. We do encourage our noble Muslim sisters to attend the gatherings, the circles, the meetings of religious knowledge, where the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is explained. If you are not able to attend those gatherings, then it is possible, and Allah has made it easy for us in this day and age, to get audio cassette tapes of lectures of the scholars and of the students of knowledge and the callers to Islam. So if you are not able to attend the lectures, then be devoted and dedicated in trying to obtain those tapes and listen to them. And it is the duty of every single Muslim husband to facilitate for their wives in any way that they can for them to attain these gatherings of knowledge, or at least they should obtain for them these tapes and these lectures so that they can benefit from them. Also, for the sisters to read the magazines that are based upon the Quran and the Sunnah according to the understanding of the companions in the early generations, then we advise them to get hold of such magazines and such books that contain such authentic information, and also to benefit from them. The next advice we want to give our noble sisters in Islam is concerning solving problems in relationships. Solving problems in relationships. Alhamdulillah, our noble sisters have a great task to undertake in solving the problems with relationships. And the first problem that the noble Muslim sisters might encounter in this regard is with their husbands.